I don't know if I should treat the MOU as out, the Memorandum of Understanding out or not, because Saeed Ghasseminejad is saying that he has the text, right? And people are saying the text is not out, but Saeed Ghasseminejad is basically treating the text that just came out as a text that, Saeed Ghasseminejad, I trust him. It doesn't mean that I trust everything he says. But we do have the text. I don't know if you guys want me to read through it, but it's interesting because it's frustrating many people in Iran and in Israel, but it's also frustrating many people in Iran who are pro-regime. So um, I like it when it's frustrating the pro-regime Iranians, but I don't want to. I don't want to tone police and control. Like, I think it doesn't help if we tell people who are on our side in Israel and Iran that their feelings are, that their views on this, their interpretation on this is not um, are not being listened to, and it's not justified, like without actually listening. It might not be justified, it might be justified, but I think it's important to take them seriously rather than dismissing them. I don't know if you guys have seen what the Iranian and Israeli frustration is over the Memorandum of Understanding. I think there's a lot of misunderstanding regarding the MOU because people are reading, like, they're not reading it accurately, in my opinion. Um, I think people are treating it. The most common mistake that I'm seeing is that people are treating it as if this is a deal, and this is not a deal. It's not even close to a deal. Some people are reading the too much into the $300 billion segment. Do you guys think it's a good idea for me to just go through it? I mean, it's a bit long. It has 11 points in there. Do you guys want me to read through it, or should I not even read it because we don't know if this is the actual deal or not? So many people are treating it as if this the agreement or not. So many people are treating it as the agreement. We could go line by line and judge it. What do you guys think? I do want some twos in the chat. I'm not seeing people putting twos in the chat. But yeah, there we go. Sketch, you go. Thank you. You go ahead.
The only text on this that I would trust would have to come from Trump. Like, I don't know who this person is. Maybe they're great, maybe they're fantastic, but they got it from someone. They didn't produce it themselves, and who they got that from, I don't know, right? So that's, first of all, that's one. Tactically, we don't want the text out anyway. We don't want to promote what the text might be because I believe part of the tactic here is they're going to probably break it. They're going to probably break it soon. It's only an MOU. They're probably going to break it. We keep acting like, I think the internet being on is kind of like helped and hurt, because these things, when we were talking deal, no deal before, while the internet was off, well, we didn't have the CG and those guys more openly, coming and talking about it. And we also didn't have Iranians be exposed to like accepting this as a deal. It's obviously not a deal. It's a memorandum of understanding. It's like, this is what's going to be on the contract. They're just agreeing to what's going to be on the contract. It's not final at all. And personally, I don't trust the text at all. I don't know who this guy is, even if he is good. Let's say I'm going to forget that I don't know. Let's say this is my twin brother and I've known him all my life. I don't know where he got that. I don't know if the person who gave it to them was lying. I don't know. I don't know where this paper came from. So Trump doesn't want it out, number one. Number two, I don't know if it's real.
Okay. Before we go to the next two, there's also, I'm not going to do it in this segment, but there's a lot of statements by President Trump that I don't know, that a lot of people are having an issue with, especially his comments about Israel. We'll do that in the next segment if you guys want. Right now, let's just finish talking about the MOU and all of the misunderstandings. We do have some confirmation from President Trump and JD Vance regarding some of the things that are in and not in the MOU. the $300 billion part is one of the most important parts that is causing a lot of confusion and misunderstanding. And I think the Islamic Republic is using that as a way to act like they're winning. It's very important to remind people that nothing, like nothing has been given to the Islamic Republic, and nothing, and the MOU doesn't even say that there's going to be any unconditional. Like, I mean, President Trump has made it clear that the whatever they're saying about the $300 billion being given to the Islamic Republic is a lie. I had my understanding of what's it about, but again, because Sketch said we don't know, I think a lot of people like Texas Troop in the live chat, and you guys are correct to point out like let's just wait until the official statement is out before we could actually review it with each other. But we are getting a taste of what it could look like once the MOU is actually out. So it does make sense for us to prepare for it, because guys, whatever you think, it does make sense for us to try to hold us together and try to keep unity and hope on our side. So we do need to, at least now that we saw how people are responding to this, I think it's a good way for us to practice how to prepare for when the actual text comes out. Because some people, for example, in the YouTube chat are also saying if the MOU is this, we don't know if it this or not, but if it is this, they say it sucks. But I think again, it comes from a lot of misunderstanding that this is not a deal. This is an MOU, and I honestly don't see us being any at all close to a deal. I don't see us being close to a deal, at least not yet. And if we don't get to that deal, then this MOU is just doing damage to the Islamic Republic without any potential benefits from a deal. But again, yeah, because like people are saying the memorandum of misunderstanding. Danny was saying that, Texas Troop was saying the exact same thing on YouTube. Anyway, so let's continue, because I think if we're not reading the MOU, then I want to go to the next part sooner, which is about President Trump's comments regarding Israel. So Sean, I think it's Shauna next, yeah, Shauna.
Just really quick, I do want to say too, something that I've been looking at is it's interesting to see what's happening to Trump's base, because while earlier in the Iran strikes there was the ISO cucks who were really against it, now the people who are more war hockey, I suppose, for lack of a better description, are really mad about this potential deal, or what they think is the deal. So I'm in my feed, I'm getting a lot of like, why this is the worst thing ever. I follow a lot of former military. They're kind of freaking out. So I think what's interesting to watch now is that his popularity is going down with the kind of more war hockey side of the coalition. So this Iran situation seems to be divisive, uh, basically to everybody. Or at least this whole thing, they were hoping. I think there's a lot of people who were hoping that they would just be able to really, really finish them, or they don't understand Trump's strategy. I'm not saying that I do, but that's just what I'm getting. Is there's a lot of different opinions going around, and so I just wanted to put that out there. Is that he's very unpopular with some of the war hockey types on the right now.
Okay. I do want to I know like we have people here like you and Sketch and Jeffrey, who are saying who are saying that Trump knows exactly what he's doing. um I do know Halda here is for example has she has a different view. So I do like, maybe especially when I get to the next section, I think where there's nobody else that wants to talk about the MOU. So I think there's one. Okay, so let's do the MOU, and then once we go to the comments regarding Israel sections, I do want us to practice here expressing opposing opinions without it, attacking each other, so that we could demonstrate to everyone else that is possible. So go on, BT.
Yeah, to finish us off, we have Uncle Jeff.
Coffee slurp. So, okay. You, one of the things I had heard regarding the pushing of the deal from some colleagues that are citing open intelligence is the Chinese Communist Party got really hurt by our counter blockade for good reason. That's exactly why we did it, in part. And they are pushing for the deal via their proxy read elements in Pakistan, because Pakistan is very much the Chi-Com's proxy. And the reason the Chi-Coms are doing that is because the counter blockade did a lot of damage to their teapot industries. So Donald had said something along the lines of, President Xi is a very, is a gentleman. He didn't send like a ship to run our blockade with 2 destroyers on either side. That's what he said. And so there's a lot of like the fact that there's pushes to try and end the blockade illustrates that it's having impact on the broader autocratic bloc. As far as like pivoting and all of that, I'm going to reiterate what I said yesterday. No one's betraying Iranian resistance. There is, we picked up the phone, like Iranian resistance and protesters put out the call. We picked up the phone. We responded with 13 for us and 8 for Israel-ish, 21,000 targets obliterated. Because certain elements out of Western Europe fucked us with using our air bases and subsequently our heavy bombers, it meant that our carriers and the subs had to take on almost the entire lift of the strike. So, with such a high sortie tempo, and like the subs fired all their missiles, like in one slew, that meant, after 5 days, we have like, we're bingo fuel, bingo ammo, things have to be reloaded. So, I think a lot of different people are so people are getting a superficial read on some things, and that's very much being misrepresented by never Trumpers, by the autocratic bloc, regime remnants, everybody, to try and ramp up, pain amongst the opposition, which is us. I would contend the good guys. And so, people are getting a tizzy in some things. The MOU and the deal. I'm very much in the side of Rubio, Secretary of War Pete Hegseth, and General Keane and General Kellogg that we should finish the regime. Like we should carry out those mass strikes, because the regime is the threat that existed prior to February 28th still exists now, albeit in a diminished capacity. You have a pseudo-theologically motivated actor that is very much that exists in an environment that increasingly selects for proliferation. It isn't just nuclear weapons. It isn't. I'm glad that President Trump added the buy part. I mean, at least we're tightening down. You're seeing the alternative means to obtaining nuclear capability being reflected in the deal. That said, these are dishonest actors that are just going to violate any deal. So why do we have to do the pivot conventionally to some degree? Well, because Putin and the Chi-Coms are very much coordinating their efforts with the regime remnants to stress, U.S. force projection capability. Putin's getting ready to pounce on the Baltic states and Poland. He's bumped up this gray zone conflict, warfare against us. You have the Chi-Coms getting ready to test Taiwan. We also spent a lot of our defensive, like, why are we doing things with regards to Israel? Well, we're trying to put an operational pause, albeit I don't know how receptive. I mean, the Mullah regime's not receptive, because we burned through a lot of our defensive interceptors, right? And we're trying to, in some ways, find a way to resolve that. Israel and war hawks or more aggressive people like me are more offensive. We kill the Fletcher, kill the Archer, so you don't have too many arrows. Other people are like, maybe have an operational pause so we can rebuild the defensive, elements. I would contend it also illustrates in no uncertain manner why we need to go full board. President Trump's Undersecretary of Defense and Research and Development is very right on into directed energy-based defenses, because then you don't have to worry about cost and production exchange ratios. That said, there's issues regarding producing that at scale. So I mean, we're fixing that up. So a lot of these things are moving parts, right? Ultimately, the next stage of liberating Iran is exactly what I said to you guys, right? The track 2 material support strategy. That's real. So, I mean, what's my take on the MOU? I shake out where a little differently than some other people. I shake out on the same side as Rubio, Secretary of War Hegseth, and other like General Kellogg and Keane. That said, I think that the MOU is very much being misrepresented for any number of illegitimate reasons, from the regime remnants, members of the autocratic bloc, never Trumpers, pick whatever.
Okay.
Okay, we've got one more before super chats, please. Jilly would like to chime in.
Guys. Yeah, look, I think of this is just sort of a little bit more, a bit along the lines of what Jeffrey was saying and a little bit else. I think it's easy to forget that Israel and America, while they're both aligned, they don't have the same objectives. In the background, America is also fighting another kind of a war with China and with Russia. And Israel is just trying to survive in the region. So there are going to be times when things that I think the American regime is playing a long game, and it's not just about Israel and it's not just about Iran. And I think I don't know how I feel about all of that. Because Trump's way of going about this, the Trump regime's way of going about this, is not transparent to me. However, I also am mindful that this is a war, and it's a pretty big war. It's a pretty important war, and it's if we're confused, I'm just hoping the enemy is confused as well, because that's a big part of it. But I will say one thing about the situation that Israel finds itself in, which is that Israel knows that it's in the Middle East, and it knows that the defeat, from the point of view of its survival, the defeat of its enemies has to be obvious. Israel's up against an enemy who every time they can turn it around and say we won, it's not a matter of pride for Israel. It's not like Israel has to get them to say, oh yes, you completely routed us, because Israel wants that for its pride. It's the fact that in that region, Israel will not be respected if it can be turned around and made to look like a failure. And unfortunately, Israel's direct enemies, many of them may prefer Israel to win, but they have situations where they can't come out openly and say that that's what they want, unless Israel actually does completely rout the enemy. So you've got two things going on here. You've got the Israeli perspective, and you've got the American perspective. You've got the long game, and you've got the shorter game. And I think that that's affecting the way people are taking this MOU. How I feel about the MOU, I couldn't say right now, because I don't actually know what it is. But I do, I think this is for us as the little people. There's a lot of watch and wait in here, and it is frightening. The idea that that the Islamic regime can run around saying we won has other ramifications. As I said, it makes countries like Saudi Arabia or the UAE, it makes them hold their breath and step back and say, maybe we can't be so openly on Israel's side anymore, blah, blah, blah. So there's a lot of moving parts there, to borrow Jeffrey's expression, and that's what I think about it for what it's worth.
Okay, last we have a comment from Carl. He would like me to read. He says his biggest concern is the lifting of the blockade, because it will open up Iran selling oil, which will bring in money to the regime. that will have a stabilizing effect. Oh, we've got a few more. Jeffrey, go ahead.
That's also the reason why the combination of Operation Sovereign Tide, Reed, recognizing having His Highness Prince Reza Pahlavi and the transitionary government recognized as the official government in exile, and then having the United States and or our partners, provide them letters of marque, which would allow them to liberate stolen oil that's being transported via very large tankers operated by regime remnants. And track 2 material support is so important because that's part of stage 2 or phase 2.
All right, Sketch.
I was just going to say that just because you open the strait doesn't mean the insurance company are going to pay for traffic. Like, even if you open the straits, they would have to have more than 1 week of feeling like, hey, this is a deal that's going to be had, because the insurance companies are not going to insure a million barrel tanker to go through just because a paper was signed. They would wait to see if Iran is following the conditions of the deal. And they're not going to do that in a week. They've already adjusted to offshoring and friendshoring. They're going to America. They're going to Russia because they had some sanctions lifted. Little good that it's doing that. They're going to go elsewhere until they can insure, until it's worth insuring these ships. They just lost a whole lot of insurance because all those ships that got stuck there all those times, they probably had to pay out all that insurance. So they're going to be very, very on edge about letting ships in under insurance just because an MOU got signed. The people that are on the insurance, the people that are in the stock market are looking at the barrels of oil liberated, but the people in insurance are looking at the stability of passing through that strait, and they might not certify that.
Okay, Armin, super chats.
Okay, so the next section is going to be a lot heated, I think, in my opinion, and I want like both sides of this to talk about it. So, and I think we should spend a lot of time talking about the next segment. So, get ready for that. Okay, so super chats. The real Sao, thank you so much for the super chat saying, all I get from today is Israel is bad, and without Trump, no Israel and Syria. Without Trump, no Israel and Syria good, and there's a big, amazing deal that no one knows what's in it. Okay, well, actually, so the MOU part we talked about. So that part that you talked about at the beginning, that's next, right? And thank you for the super chat. So get ready. We're going to be breaking that down right after these super chats. Saber Coaching with a super chat. Thank you so much. Saying, I think it'd be useful for everyone if you speak about how you stay level-headed and calm throughout all the chaos and unfavorable day-to-day news. Javid Shah. I just look at some Durka people crying. Easy. Durka tears. Just watch. Okay, so yeah, that's what I would do. But honestly, like I go touch grass. I go spend some loving time with my loved ones, and also Durka tears. Watch some Durka people be miserable and also another thing I do is that I watch where we are right now compared to where we were last year, right? Like that I look at the list of things that the Islamic Republic has lost in the past year and what we the Iranian people have gained. It's interesting because last year same time, Iranian people were talking about not being united, not having a leader, not being united under a leader, not being organized, not having be established, like none of that. We didn't have any of that, and now we have all of that. And back then we were so frustrated and there were so many fighting over that. I'm like, okay, now you have all of that. And as soon as you have all of those things that you didn't have, now you're moving on to not having something else. Like, can you appreciate that we didn't have any of these last year? Like, we are so ahead of where we used to be just last year, the opposition against the Islamic Republic. So I compare where we were against the regime before and where we are now, and where the regime was before and where we are now. And that makes me appreciate how far we have come. Yeah. And then we have another super chat saying Trump, oh, this is also the real Sal, saying Trump caved in for midterms and his podcast bro base. I think this is podcast bro, not pro, yeah. And his podcast bro base, and made Israel out to be the baddie. Okay. And saying optics show Iran coming out on top on this one. Send in Syria, they can take out Iran. Trump believes this. Okay, this is exactly what we're going to be talking about now, right now. So this is the last super chat, but also I saw a comment from Texas Troop saying I should design Armin some Durkateers merch. Yeah, I mean, you know what? I have to do that myself. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, please do that and send it to me. I will add it to the merch store at some point. One day when we have time. My name is Armin Navabi. I'm an Iranian political analyst with decades of experience fighting the Islamic regime inside and outside of Iran. Make sure you follow me for more, and also make sure you join our discussion group. I'm there almost every single day. Come talk to me there and the rest of the people there in our group calls. It's a great place to meet and talk to people who like talking about politics. The link is in the description and or in the bio. You could also get there by scanning the QR code on the screen. See you there.